Good evening and welcome to the Greater Peterborough UTC Year 11 Information Evening. It's Mr. Bisley speaking. I get the pleasure of welcoming you in and just setting out the objectives of today's information evening and sharing our successes from this summer's results. Obviously, normally this is a session that we would do in our event space in school, but for today, given the circumstances, we have chosen to do this virtually. Can I reassure you that none of the information that's presented tonight has been adapted or modified? This is exactly the information that we would have given you, and we want to try and run this as close to the real event as possible. So I'll be speaking first just for a few minutes just to set the like I say, set the objectives for the sessions. You'll then hear from a number of my staff talking about different elements from things that are important regarding year 11, and then at the end all of us will remain online so you can ask us questions, either in an open forum if you think it's a question that maybe a number of parents might be interested to hear the response to, or if it's a question that's personal to your child, then we can go into a breakout room and we can have that conversation. So in terms of what we hope for you to take away from this evening's talk, the outcomes, number one, we want you to understand what our sixth form offer is. So we offer two pathways in the sixth form. The typical sixth form offer, which is our level 3 pathway, which is a combination of A levels and our level 3 technical awards in architecture and engineering. We also offer a 1-year level 2 pathway, which is kind of a bridging year. It's 1 year, it includes GCSE resits and either an engineering or a science focus. And this is for students really who have just missed out on getting the grades for A level and are maybe not wanting to consider a college course and want to stay with us at the UTC. So it's a 1-year course which builds towards that A-level pathway. We also want you to understand what the entry criteria is. A common misconception is that it's an automatic transition from year 11 into our sixth form. Unfortunately, that's not the case. As much as we'd love to have all of our students here, there are entry criteria for both the level 2 and the level 3 courses. So we'll talk to you in a bit more detail about what that entry criteria is, what grades are needed for certain A levels, and what grades are needed in general to be accepted on. And obviously, importantly, how that application process works. So even for our own year 11 students, there is still an application process that they have to fill in so that we've got a record of that application. There is still a professional discussion with that student about their choices, about which A levels that they're looking at, and about their suitability. So that will be explained as well. And we'll also share with you some really important dates around the exams and the mock exams. Now, actually, at the moment, there is a little bit of uncertainty around when the real exams are going to be. There's a lot of talk in the media about them being delayed slightly. As it stands, that isn't the case. So we will be going ahead and planning all of our support and all of our interventions as if the exams are going to happen as planned. Obviously, if they do get moved back, then that will give us additional time to prepare our young people. But we would rather get them ready for when the dates currently are being published at than delay that and then find out that that's not to be the case. And then most importantly, it's how we are going to help your child bridge any of those gaps in preparation for their exams. Obviously, there was a period where children were out of education, and we want to make sure that anything that was missed during that time, we can help bridge those gaps and get them as ready as possible for their exams next year. It's always the nicest part of this evening for me, really, is to look back at last year's successes and share with you some of the outcomes and some of the results. Obviously, it was a very well publicised that this year's results went on centre assessed grades rather than the actual outcomes in exams. And again, I don't need to talk about that in much detail because it was widely publicised and all over the news for a few weeks. And it is important to note, however, that one of the progress measures that schools are often sort of tracked and ranked against is something called Progress 8. And as a UTC, it's really important that we remember that we're not ranked on that. We do not have to do the same subjects that students do in other schools. Therefore, this particular measure is not something that we are ranked on. Instead, we are looked at things like English, maths and science, obviously as a STEM specialist school, but also importantly, our destination data is really key to us. Really pleased to remain the second most UTC in the country 2 years running. You know, we made some huge leaps last year, and I'm really pleased that we've managed to maintain that. Obviously the competitive side of me, you know, I want to be the best, and I'm hopeful that this year's Year 11 will put us right up there at the top of the 50 UTCs across the country. Again, looking at the year-on-year improvements, 2-year trends still have us as the most improved secondary school in Peterborough. And again, we continue to get those top marks in STEM subjects. So over 20% of our leavers got a 7 or better in their GCSE maths. So right up there in the top bracket, 1 in 5 are getting one of the top scores. Similar in biology and chemistry, you know, our average grades there of what would have been an A and a B in our STEM subjects. For the 2nd year running, our average GCSE grade has increased by a whole grade. Our average last year was a pass. It is now what was considered to be a strong pass of a grade 5. And also our built environment. So for the 1st year this year, our new built environment teacher, Mr. Hemming, had a chance to take a cohort all the way through. And we're really, really pleased that there was a 90% pass rate in architecture, now one of the strongest subjects in our school, which we're really, really pleased with. In terms of our Year 13 results, so again, looking at our 6th form outcomes, which is really important for you when you're deciding which 6th form to go to. Our average A-level grade when we first opened in 2018 was an E. That moved up to a D. That now sits at a C. We're really, really pleased with that. Our percentages of students getting A stars to B has gone significantly up in previous years. We've now got 80% of our students getting an A star to C and 35% getting an A star to B. Our technical qualifications, it was a merit, went up to a distinction minus, it's now gone up to a distinction. So again, year-on-year improvements there, really, really pleased with those grades. And for the 2nd year running, every single student that studied architecture or engineering passed those qualifications. So 2 years running, nobody that took those qualifications failed. And that's really, really important for their post-18 destination. So really, really pleased with that. Some fantastic outcomes and some fantastic results there. So I hope you enjoy the evening, and I look forward to speaking to you again at the end.